I don't know what's wrong with Brent Leo Smith today, but he is full of the joys of life, and maybe it's his tea that's talking, because I had my cup of tea already today. But anyway, as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera I have got Sebastian once again for a rather rainy start to our day. And in the background, as you can see, that it's not just me, but there is also our three boys that have come right out onto the dam wall, and they've decided that it's time to have a little kind of peer over the dam. I believe that there was just now some elephants that were around as well that may have pushed them out from their little slumber, and now they're kind of just sitting in the rain and just getting wet, as I suppose everybody else is doing today, because it is that kind of weather where everybody is just trying to kind of find somewhere to sit, and it doesn't matter if you're in the grass or if you are on the dam wall out in the open, you're going to get wet either way. But there's a big yawn, and I wonder if they're going to be fairly active this afternoon. They would have slept off a lot of their buffalo during the course of today, and so I would think that maybe, just maybe, they might actually be in the mood to hunt. The problem is that we're right up on the northern boundary, and so that means that they could potentially, unfortunately, get going and go straight north, which will end our viewing of them. I do apologize about the pole. The pole is obviously an essential part of a rain safari. It is going to be there most of the afternoon, so I do apologize about it. I'll try and position a little bit better to help Seb just now. But what is really nice is that we've found ourselves in a situation where we can sit lower than what they are, so we're almost kind of at eye level with them, which is very, very cool. It's not every day that you can be eye level with a male lion, and so it's a nice little angle that we've got with the rain kind of falling down. Very, very pretty, and a good way to spend our afternoon, I would say. At least we have some cats. What's today? Is today Thursday? So it's Thursday today. So at least we've got some cats for Thursday, which is always very, very good. But it's amazing, when we were watching them this morning, two of them that were in the kind of grassy area, they really didn't look that big. But now that I see them kind of lying out in the open, they're actually impressive young lads. I think they're going to be quite big boys in a few years' time. Give them maybe another 2 years and those manes to really develop, and they'll be quite an impressive bunch. And there's definitely a situation where there's one blondie, which is quite typical when you have coalitions of male lions. So you generally get a situation. Now there's the pole in the way, so I'm going to just reposition ourselves. Seb, give me 2 seconds so that you can get into a better place, because we got here just as Rebecca was linking to us, so I think we just didn't time things very well, but we'll get it right now. Let's have a look quickly. I just want to try and turn. So Rebecca is reminding me that it is World Water Day, and that it is wonderful that it is raining on World Water Day. No, I'm just joking. It is very good that it's raining. We obviously need the rain, and given that water is such a precious commodity these days, and everywhere seems to be having some sort of issues with water. Either you're having too much of it, or we're having too little of it. And so having a bit of rain like this is great for World Water Day indeed. I think it's a very, very cool thing, and the fact that there is a day dedicated to water is very special. Ultimately, we are made up of mostly water, and so it's an important thing to discuss. So if you've got water questions, then I suppose today's the day. Send them through on #SafariLive or the YouTube chat if you would like to. Good. Now, our lions, I don't think, are huge fans of World Water Day. I'm pretty sure they're not so happy with all the rain that is falling, but how beautiful is that? Look at his kind of mane that's going down his chest. These guys will get really big manes eventually when they do kind of fill out a little bit. They've got quite big puffy sort of hair growth on their elbows already, and so I'd imagine when it all kind of fills out, they're going to be quite impressive lads. I'm looking forward to actually seeing how they develop, if they stay around here, or just in general to follow them. It'll be interesting to see where they go and where they end up and how it all kind of plays out. But isn't that pretty? Very, very cool. I think so. You've got the beautiful russet bush willow in the background, adding a little bit of coloration, and then our boy that's just kind of standing up in the foreground. So it's a nice little bit of color around him with the little drops of water falling as well. Very, very cool to see. Oh, he's going to the toilet. Lovely. So, Paul, the Birmingham boys would probably have to be quite near to hear them. These boys are not really making too much noise. So I think it's more a case that the Birminghams have to walk where these guys have walked and pick up their scent more than actually hear them. I don't think we're going to have a situation where they're actually going to hear them from just them sitting around like this. But if they actually start to urinate like that, and then you have a situation where I could very well pick up their scent from wherever they actually are walking, and then follow them to this area, and that could be from a very long distance. But in terms of hearing, unless these guys start calling, they're not going to hear them from very, very far away at all. They all have to be very close in order to hear them. Very, very cool, though, at least that they're around. Like I said, it's going to be interesting if they do start to vocalize. I'm hoping that tonight, because it's going to be a rainy, dingy night, that it'll get dark quite early, and maybe that will allow these guys to try and have a little go at roaring, and maybe we'll get a situation where we'll hear them actually trying to belt it out, and we'll see whether they're brave enough to actually roar. So, Patrick, no, like I was saying, they haven't really been roaring much lately. I haven't heard them. They've been around for the last 3 weeks, and I haven't heard them at all. It's not to say that they haven't roared. Of course, they could have roared quite easily, and they could have roared in Buffelshoek, and we just haven't heard them. Brent is my neighbor, and so things are generally quite loud around the place and don't really hear too much of what's going on. No, just kidding. He's actually not too bad. But they haven't really, from what I've heard, they haven't really been roaring very much. And there comes the Ellies now. Seb, can you see them? They're coming down onto the other side. I'm just going to go back a little bit so we can actually get a better view of them, because Seb's got a pole and a big buffalo thorn that's coming down. Now, I wonder what the Ellies are going to do, if they're going to come this way or if they're going to decide. Hold on, Seb. I'll turn you a little bit. Just hold on. So there we go. That should be, is that all right, Seb? There we go. Cool. So it'll be interesting if they're just going to drink and then go back the way that they came, or if they're going to come along the dam wall and chase these male lions. They could very well chase these boys. It wouldn't be impossible, and wouldn't be a situation where it would be improbable for them to actually come across the dam wall. Most of the time that the Ellies actually come to Buffelshoek Dam, if they don't go back the way they came, then they often do come across this dam wall and move into this area. So we'll just have to sit tight and see how this plays out, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be interesting nonetheless. Either way, amazing to have two of the most iconic species of Africa in the same place. So finally, I've had a sighting at Buffelshoek Dam of elephants and a cat together. It seems like everybody else has had plenty of these sightings, and I've had a situation where I haven't seen too many things at Buffelshoek Dam, so I'm quite thrilled that there's actually Ellies at the dam itself. And I didn't really expect the Ellies in weather like this. I would have thought that the Ellies would have not been too worried about coming for water, but I suppose they still need it and require it. And you can see there's actually a tiny, tiny little baby there. Now that little baby is going to be something that lions could potentially hunt, and so I would imagine the mother of that baby is going to be very defensive and would want to chase these lions very far away. So if these elephants do come this way, these lions might get themselves into a little spot of bother and might get pushed around a little bit. So it looks like the Ellies are slowly meandering their way along. You see how they're moving across the bank there? So let's just see. I see more elephants in the distance coming as well. So we might end up with quite a few here, which will be very interesting to see. I wonder if this isn't maybe a portion of Fang's herd, because we know Fang has been hanging around here. I would be so thrilled if it is a portion of Fang's herd. Of course, it would mean that we'd have a lot more elephants joining. That herd is close to 50 elephants, so there's a lot of them in there, but I don't see any sign of her. I just see a couple grey backs in the bushes around us, and it looks really, really like there's quite a few of them coming. So hopefully Fang will make an appearance as well. It'll be a very exciting time. I'm interested to see how these Ellies go about this, because the thing is where they're walking is very steep. So you often find the Ellies don't actually kind of navigate along the shoreline of this dam. It gets too steep for them, so they normally go back up and then up onto the dam wall and across the dam wall. I actually don't think that they've seen the lions yet, and probably with this rain that we've got and the lack of wind, you might find that they haven't even smelt them either. And so when they go up onto the dam wall, they might get a bit of a fright, and I can assure you that they will be trumpeting and chasing should that happen. So as soon as we see them going up onto the dam wall, it'll be an interesting situation. But for now, it's just about quenching thirst and making sure everybody gets nice and hydrated. You see the little baby is going up, and if that little baby is not careful and it separates too far from its mom, I've seen lions go after babies like that because they are so little. Look, this lion is stalking. The lion is actually up and having a look. You see that? So the lion is trying to position itself so that maybe this baby elephant pops up, they can potentially get it. So that's really interesting. Now, we're going to have to just reposition. I want to just reposition ourselves because I don't want to be in a situation where we can't see what's going on. Now, I'm just going to keep quiet for a little bit because we are going to do a unscheduled broadcast. So hold on for 2 seconds. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a very rainy, very wet South Africa. As you can see, we have got a standoff between two of Africa's biggest and most iconic animals. So we've got a big male lion that's busy stalking a tiny baby elephant. So there's a little baby that's sitting behind mom. The adults are busy drinking, and the little baby is wandering away from the adults every now and then, and that's why that male lion is creeping up there. It's seen that maybe, just maybe, there might be an opportunity to try run in and grab that little baby elephant, which is absolutely insane because generally we don't see lions hunting elephants very often. Now, my name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Sebastian, and this is coming to you live out of South Africa, which means that you can ask as many questions as you would like to, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. And you can do that by putting them in the comments section below. Now, that male lion was sitting, sleeping. He was feeling very sorry for himself with the rain that was falling. And all of a sudden, when that little baby elephant started moving up the bank away from the herd, he got up and walked to try and position himself there. And so what he's doing is he's trying to use the wall at the moment as a way to hide him, so that if that elephant, the little baby, does come up, he's able to then rush and try and grab that elephant and try and inflict some sort of injury to the elephant before the herd reacts. And I can promise you, if he grabs that baby, the herd will go absolutely crazy, and we'll have a situation where there'll be trumpeting, stampeding elephants everywhere. So it's going to be a tense situation, and one that we need to just kind of follow and monitor very, very closely. I think he's got a bit of a cheek, though, because ultimately he's going to have a bit of a problem. Now, you can see that there's two of his brothers are sitting waiting at the moment and seeing what their brother is doing. So, Jason, yes, if the baby gets tackled by that lion, you'll find the entire herd will come at once to try and protect that little one and to try and look after it. So you can see, look, the lion is just peering over the top of the dam wall. It's looking for that little baby, but it is, like I say, very cheeky, because this whole herd will come running. They'll all try and chase that male lion, and what it will have to do is try and tackle this little baby to hurt it, and then try and kind of back off and then kind of keep going back and forth. And that's normally how it goes. Now, Stacey, this coalition is a new coalition to our area. In fact, this coalition is a coalition that we've only seen for the first time properly today. So they arrived about 2 days ago, and they were floating around on our northern boundaries, and then they've just crossed over during the night. And it's called the Avoca Coalition. So they come from quite far north of us in an area called the Timbavati, and they've come south towards this area. So, Paul, there is only these three males, which is a coalition. They come from a pride that is further north of us, that is about 20 lions, or was 20 lions. Apparently they're down to about 15, but because they were young males, they were chased out by the dominant males as these guys were starting to become, or develop and become territorial. And so what's happening now is these are nomadic boys that are trying to set up a territory, and so it's just the three of them. There's no other males within this pride. They did have a bit of a fight with our resident pride here called the Inkahuma pride, where they chased them off a buffalo kill, not last night, the night before, and that pride is actually serviced by different males. It's a coalition of 4 males called the Birminghams that normally are in this area, and those Birminghams, if they come here, are going to be very upset that these three are around. So, Jessica, the elephants could potentially kill the lions, but it's not easier. Remember, a lion is a very fleet-footed animal and runs faster than what the elephants do. So elephants, if they can catch a lion, yes, they could very well kill it, and their size difference and strength could easily make it possible for them to kill a lion. But a lion is much faster and much more agile, and that means it can generally get away from the elephants before it gets close. Now, the little baby elephant is wandering off. You can see it just behind its mom. It's kind of... it's difficult to see now. It's between its mom and its sibling. There it is. So that's the tiny little baby that this male was watching, and it's now been very clever. It's sitting right up against mom, and so the moment to go after that little baby is pretty much gone. This male lion won't be able to wrestle with any of these other elephants that we've got. They're all far too large for him to go after. And you can see, actually, it's quite funny. He's not even watching the elephants right below him. He's starting to watch just the elephant right in the distance. You see, look, he's not really looking at those that are to his left. He's looking looking at the little baby that's walking off. But he's got really no chance, and there's very few lions that will ever get hunting of elephants right. It's not something that is easy to do. And you find a situation where most of the time lions get bullied. So Bruno, you say, wow, this is amazing. It is amazing. This is a very, very special thing. It's not something that you see every single day. You'll often find lions lying and elephants moving across, but it's very seldom that you see a lion interested in actually trying to maybe chase or hunt an elephant. So it is a very special sighting, and having them in such close proximity is really very, very cool. And the best part about it is that we get to share this with all of you. And so you're a part of the largest safari vehicle in the whole of the world to be able to watch this and see this coming to you from South Africa. Now, Jamie, we all, I think, are all breathing a sigh of relief that the little baby will be safe and that the lion probably won't get it. Although you can never say never. Even from here, maybe this male can cause some sort of disturbance, that little baby maybe runs in the wrong direction and runs towards the other two male lions, and they can grab it. But I think at this stage, we're pretty much all right. But you see, look, the elephants are walking along the bank, and they might disrupt these lions a little bit. So, Stacey, you say these lions look skinny or hungry, or is it just their age? So, no, these guys are actually not skinny or hungry. They have been feeding a lot. They ate a baby buffalo 3 days ago. They then ate a bit of a buffalo, not last night, the night before. And so they've just digested a little bit through the day. It's been quite a cold day, and that means that they probably utilize a lot of their resources quite quickly. The other male that is sitting here, so not the one standing, one of the ones that is sitting, is actually quite round and quite full at the moment. So he had obviously the lion's share, so to speak, of food. But I think these elephants have now smelt these lions, because they've all of a sudden started putting up their trunks. Look, you can see it's basically a face-to-face between the elephant and the lion. So the elephant is there, and the lion is just on top looking at them. And you can see how that elephant was putting up its trunk. It was trying to sniff. And look what the lion's doing. The lion's going down behind that little embankment so that it can hide away, and then it can walk all the way along back towards its brothers without the elephant seeing it and therefore chasing it, because it doesn't want to attract too much attention. There, now the elephant has spotted it. You see, look, the elephant's tail has gone right out, trunk is up, ears are out. So it probably spotted a bit of the movement as well as smelt that lion, and it's reacted immediately. Let's see if it's going to come up and chase this lion. It'll be interesting. It's a very steep slope that elephant has got to go up. It's going to be quite difficult for that Ellie to actually get up there, but you never know. The lion's lost interest completely now. He's just wandering off, and probably better, because otherwise he was going to get himself into a lot of trouble if he stayed where he was. Carol, no, I don't think the Ellies feel trapped at the water's edge. They can move both ways, so they can either go back from where they came or towards where we are. They can also go up the bank if they should want to. You can see that they're not really too phased. It's not like they are shouting or vocalizing in any way. So I think that they're okay. In fact, two of them are having the biggest game. The two young sub-adults in the background, they are pushing each other around and having a wonderful time of playing and having a bit of boisterous teenage nonsense. So, Rick, even if lions are not that hungry, they still will go after any opportunity that comes their way. They are opportunistic animals, and so if you have a situation where they're sitting and they might even have been on a kill, full big belly, and all of a sudden, let's say a buffalo walks past, they are going to try and go after it, because they don't know when their next opportunity is going to come, and so they'll take any opportunity that they can get and try and go after it. But look how cool this is. Look at him walking up towards the brothers, and we're almost at an eye-level view. And there'll be a bit of bonding. Look at that little head rub. How cool is that? So lots and lots of bonding takes place between these coalition members. These guys are going to stay together, and they're going to rely on each other for the rest of their life in order to stay safe and to try and dominate an area and to try and secure a piece of land that they can then mate and find food. And so it's important that they maintain the bond and this sort of relationship between them by nudging up and just kind of strengthening that. So, Gloria, yes, male lions do hang out together regularly. They form what's called a coalition, and coalitions can be anything from 2 lions all the way up to 6, 7. The most I've ever heard of personally was 9, but they didn't actually stay together for a very long period of time. The most that I've seen stay together sort of throughout their life was 6 males, and even then they split up a little bit. But it is common to see what it allows them to do is it allows them to dominate bigger tracts of land, and when they dominate bigger tracts tracts of land, they can find then more food, more water, and more females. And even though there might be, let's say, 3 in a coalition like this, they can dominate maybe 3, 4 prides because of the 3 of them, and they're able to then chase out single males or even 2 males, and they can then take over 4 prides. Each male will still get an opportunity to mate. Maraja, these boys haven't dominated a pride yet or have a territory just yet, so there's no females in this area because these males are not really accepted as the dominant males. So there was females here 2 days ago, and they chased them, trying to kind of assert themselves, but because the females have cubs with other males, they're very nervous of that, and they're going to then try and keep their cubs as safe as possible. Now look, the elephants are coming up the bank, so I think these lions might unfortunately get chased off at some point. They're going to have a situation where it's going to probably end up in them giving way. You normally find it now. You see the females coming up, look at her tail going erect, ears out. She's trying to impose herself, make herself look bigger so that the lions feel a little bit more intimidated, and you'll find the lions will give way. They know that Ellie's there we go. So there's 1 line up, 2 line, 3 lines, and off they go. They know they need to head off, and it's that elephant is just so much bigger and more powerful that's why they're being chased off. There it goes. You see the elephant is just making sure it stands up nice and tall and shows the lions exactly who is the king out here and who's the biggest. And it just goes to show that in nature, size does matter. Now, hopefully our boys don't walk too far because it gets very thick inside there and we might lose view of the boys, but you can hear the Ellie is actually grumbling a little bit. Right, now, while our Ellies sit and smell these male lions who are just getting up and moving, we're going to carry on sitting here and see how this plays out. You can join us too on Safari Live, and you can just Google that and find us wherever it takes you, and hopefully you'll join us for the rest of the safari. We're going to be out here for quite some time still, but it's been an absolute pleasure having you all with us, and we hope to see you on Safari Live sometime soon. It's all happening this afternoon. We've had swimming elephants, we've had roaring lions, well, not yet on camera, but we will get them on camera eventually. We've had wild dogs chasing around, and so hopefully Taylor keeps Craig, Jigger's front tire, and doesn't break Jigger, because apparently Jigger was making a bit of a noise before Taylor started her thing. But we managed to find our lions again in, well, what can only be described as possibly one of the worst areas that I have off-roaded in Djuma. It is just horrible. It is thick grass, it is knob thorns everywhere. It is just not a very pleasant place at all. You can see what it looks like in here and how those lions disappear. So it took us a while to find them, but we're sitting with them now and they're rather sleepy. But while they're kind of sleeping, we've actually managed to... Well, Brenty, you haven't had the worst time either. You had an epic elephant encounter by the sounds of things, with Ellies all around you and little babies falling down banks and all kinds of other things. So I think we've all been spoilt this afternoon. We've all had something nice to look at. Our cats have actually been the laziest of them all in terms of not moving very much. They found themselves a very thick spot. It's probably because they got disturbed by the Ellies, so they thought to themselves, well, we're going to tuck ourselves away where nobody can see us, and then we won't be chased around and kind of hit or be trumpeted at or anything like that. So that's probably why they've stationed themselves now in the biggest thicket. What I'm hoping, though, is that as it starts getting a little darker, that they're going to start heading towards the dam again and maybe onto the dam wall. The problem is that I'm actually not even sure how I'm going to get out of here. I'm literally got myself in, but I have no idea how I'm going to get out. There's literally everywhere I look is massive amounts of trees unless they move. If they decide not to move, I'm not really kind of sure how this is going to work, but we'll figure it out. I suppose it's not the first time I've gotten myself into a thicket like this. Pretty sure we'll be able to kind of get ourselves out again at some point. But it's going to be an interesting kind of evening as to whether these boys roar again. It was amazing how the elephants causing a lot of sort of trouble and a lot of trumpeting were the ones that sparked them to actually start roaring. And funny enough, when they were roaring, it sounded like only one was full-blooded roaring and another one joined in, but there was not all 3 of them, and they were actually quite soft in their roar. There wasn't a full-blooded vocalization that I would have expected from them, but it was almost as if they were kind of competing with the Ellies just to say, well, we can also make quite a bit of noise as well. So, Lynn, you're saying when the weather is good, how far can a lion roar travel? It depends. It obviously depends on topography more than actually weather. But you'll find that as for us as humans, we'll hear it maximum that we'll pick it up is about 7 kilometers. That's where we start to lose our sort of range and our audio for them. And then in terms of lions, they'll be able to pick it up at about 10 kilometers away. So it's quite a long sort of way, if you think about it, that it travels, and that they're able to actually hear one another. Now, that roar that these guys let out, I was saying earlier, is quite sort of soft, so I don't think the Birminghams would have heard that roar. If they did, I hope that they're on their march straight north to try and kind of keep these guys at bay and away from the Nkuhumas and away from the sticks, because those cubs are all in danger at this stage if these guys settle a little bit longer. But for now, it is sleepy time. They are, I suppose they've had a busy day. Probably find a few elephants have disturbed them throughout the day, and maybe that's why they deserve at this stage of the game. In fact, there is movement. Well, there we go. That's the first bit of movement we've seen in quite some time. So it's not really enthralling stuff from our lions just yet, but I'm going to persevere with them. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to get up and do something at some point. I was hoping they'd head back to the dam just in case maybe some waterbuck came down in the late afternoon, or you never know, maybe a little buffalo bull that headed this direction. But it seems as though these guys are out for the count at the moment, and they're going to just wait until they actually kind of get dark before they start to move, although they didn't move very far last night at all. It's going quite quiet now. It's starting to get to that time where things a little kind of quieter and stiller. It's that time of the day when all the sort of daylight animals are starting to go to sleep. Now, Project Alpha, you're correct. The insects are 100 times more active than what our cats are at the moment. But that's not to say that the lions won't provide at some point. We know that they are animals that prefer dusk and nocturnal behaviors. And so I'm hoping that they will get up just now, like I said, maybe go for a drink or just do something and move about. A roar would be quite nice. It's been a very, 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 very long time since I've sit in a close proximity to a cat roaring. So I'm hoping that we are going to get a situation where we're going to get some roaring happening over the next little bit. Let's see how it goes, and you never know. Maybe we'll get lucky. But otherwise, I'm hoping that they just kind of move towards the dam, and that's our patience works out. Now, the other problem with where we are is that we can't really see anything that's happening at the dam. The dam's not far. It's about, I'd say, 100 meters from where we are. But I can't actually see or hear anything there. I was hoping that, they would be lying in a place where I could at least see anything else potters down to the dam so that we could go and have a look. What we might do is just go take a turn past there. The problem is that it's such a difficult place to get into that it seems kind of silly to leave them. And like I say, I'm actually not even sure how I'm going to get out of here, because there's just kind of knob thorns all over the place, and somehow we managed to wiggle our way through them to get to this point. So I'm not sure how I'm going to get out. I was banking on that they were going to get up and move back towards the dam, and then I could just follow the path that goes out here. But it doesn't look like they're going to do that, and so I'm going to have to work out a different way. And that means that going to the dam just to have a little look and come back is going to be very difficult, and probably not going to be the best idea. And for now, with the boys looking so tired, I'm not sure if I'll move just yet. I think I'll just give it a little bit and be a bit more patient, as patience is a virtue, as they say, and hopefully we will be rewarded. I'm just trying to look around if there's anything else happening. But the lion has gotten up, yeah. So there we go. It's all happening. Drops are dropping, lions are moving, and, well, yes, things are happening. Okay, buddy, take you the rest of your sort of coalition members and go up towards the dam. It would be nice if you did. Please, no, of course not. You're going to lie further in the thicket where I can't see you, behind the pole. Of course, because you know how much I love the poles of our roofs. I'm so glad that you lay there. Thank you. Although he's now giving me the stare as if to say, you want to come say that a little closer? You're more than welcome. That was a comedy of errors right there. Big yawn. Look, you can see the teeth are still in great condition. So it's an indication of sort of younger lions when all their teeth are nice and sharp and pointy and still quite white. There's a little bit of yellowing that's happened, but it's not major. And if you look at the Birmingham boys, you'll see a lot more yellowing of the teeth and also a lot more damage to the various canines within that group of lions as well. So pretty crazy to think. But anyway, let's see how these go. Yawning is a good sign. Yawning is a great sign. It might mean that this male's going to get up. But it's amazing his stare. He's got a proper stare on him, doesn't he, Seb? He almost looks like he could cut right through you when he looks at you. I'm sorry, did I make a lot of noise because I was laughing about the droplet? I'm sorry, lion. I do apologize. What are the chances? I still can't believe I missed the drop falling. I'm very upset about this, Seb. It's not on at all. I'm pretty sure it is the one that wet my shoe too.
I was about to zoom out as well.
And Seb was about to leave the droplet and zoom out, which would have been an absolute fail. Now you can see this male is very alert. So this is the one that earlier was a little kind of shy of the vehicle. Every time I even turn my head, he kind of looks at me and kind of opens his eyes to check what's going on. And you can see those big kind of orange eyes, big pupils that he's watching, and he's just staring kind of in our direction. And it's a little unnerving when the lion stares at you like that. It cuts deep into your kind of soul, and it feels like he's burning holes in the back of your head when he stares at you with that eye, particularly when they're a bit obscured by vegetation. You can just see this kind of fiery glance staring at you behind the leaves, but pretty insane. Anyway, are you going to go sleepy again? Come on, it's time to wake up. Shame. It's been a busy boy. And you can see lots of the grass seeds that are starting to come out, or have started to come out. And so I don't think we'll get too much more seeding of the grass, even though we are getting a bit of rain now. I think most of the growth and the seeding has already taken place. It'll depend a lot on what the temperatures do. If it starts to get a lot hotter, then we might see a little bit more growth. But I have a funny feeling it's going to start getting cooler now after this weather. It's the typical Easter rains. So when we get Easter in South Africa, you can almost bet that there's going to be some sort of rain, and after that, then the temperatures start to drop off quite quickly and you start to get nice cool weather and the winter starts to come. So I don't think we're going to see too much more in the way of the sort of grasses growing or seeding or anything like that. This will be the last of the seeds that we see. Right, now our male lions are still going to sit and still be a little sleepy. At least one is up and kind of looking, and so hopefully he's going to lead us to the dam. While we wait for them to do that, let's send you back to Brent, who's finally made his way to the tent and is ready to talk to all of you, and is also ready to welcome the schools that are about to join us. Well, we are with one of the biggest cats in Africa, and three of them, in fact. And there's three really big male lions that are busy staring at us, and a big yawn. Look at those teeth. How cool is that? So it's really nice. They're starting to wake up a little bit. There's a bit of yawning happening, which is absolutely epic. Now, my name is Tristan. On camera today, I've got Sebastian, and it is a very warm welcome to all of you. I hope that you've had a wonderful day so far at school and that you'll enjoy your safari as we carry on. Now, these three males are new to the area. They haven't been here for very long. In fact, today is the first day that we've really spent a little bit of time with them, and they've come in because they want to try and take over and become dominant males. Now, the problem with that at the moment is that they ate a buffalo 2 days ago and they are busy farting, and it's very stinky. I can tell you right now that it's very smelly at the moment. Seb, is it smelly? It's very smelly, yes, so it's not very pleasant. And the males are probably passing wind because they've eaten a lot of buffalo and it now causes them to do so. But they are waking up, which means that hopefully they're going to start walking, and they're going to walk out of this very dense, thick area that we're in. Now, Reagan, male lions have manes to protect themselves, and female lions don't fight nearly as much as what the males do. The males have to fight for dominance and for territory, and so when they come together and they fight with one another, they're going to bite and they're going to claw around the neck and the chest has got the heart and the lungs, and so it's all places where they could get very badly hurt and killed. When they've got that mane protects that area, and it acts like a big cushion that they're able to basically keep them nice and safe, and so that's why they have manes. And if you see lions fighting, you'll find that the males, when they fight with each other, they'll actually bite and bits of fur will come off rather than actually puncturing the skin and getting to a vital organ or something like that. So it's a very important thing for male lions to have. Now, you saw him yawning, which is good, because like I say, when they yawn, they are ready to start waking up and moving. Now, Matthew, the lions, depends on if it's a male or female. Males will live normally about 12 to 14 years. That's about roughly the age that they live to, whereas females will go anywhere between sort of 15 and 17. So the females live a little bit longer because they don't have to fight as much as the males do. The males often get pushed out and have to become nomadic, and it's harder for them to be looked after because they don't have a pride a lot of the time that looks after them like the females do. The females will live in bigger prides, and as they get older, so the younger females help with hunting and try and keep them nice and safe. But this male is very, very intent on looking at us at the moment, so we have to be a little bit careful. We have to try not to move too much. Now, generally, you're asking where the females are. The females, at the moment, don't want these males around, and the reason why is these males are very dangerous for their cubs. So we've got a situation where if these males find the cubs of the females, they're going to kill them. And the reason why they want to kill them is to bring the females back into estrus, and that means they can then try and have their own cubs with those females. So the females are running away from these males at the moment. These males actually chased some of our females 2 nights ago, and so they are not really welcome here. Our big dominant males that we normally see need to come back and chase these young males away, otherwise the cubs are going to be under threat and they might get killed. So we have to be a bit careful, and that's why the females are going to avoid these males as much as possible over the next little bit. But it seems like he's gone back to sleep. His brother at the back there is starting to wake up a little bit. He's starting to groom. You can just see his ears moving for now. So, like I said, there is 3 of them in total. And what happens with lions is they will often spend a lot of the part of the day to sleep. They'll kind of use it to rest. And the reason why they rest a lot during the day is because they use a lot of energy during the night. And so what they have to do is rest a little bit, and then as it starts to get dark, that's when they're going to start standing up. Now, I am not the only one out here. You heard from Brent just now that there are 2 vehicles that are driving around, and one is Taylor, and she's been trying to keep up with the wild dogs, but I think she's lost them for now. But let's go across to her so she can say hello and tell you what her plans are and whether or not she's going to be able to find those dogs again. Well, I'm sure Brent has got all kinds of different things that he wants to show you in the tent, but our males are slowly waking up. So you can see they're just doing a bit of bonding, which is a bit of head rubbing together and rolling around together and kind of yawning. And this is the waking up process. It takes a bit of time for them to wake up. So they will kind of roll around, groom each other, and then it's up and moving. Now, Lily, these guys can sleep as much as 20 hours a day. Can you imagine sleeping for 20 hours a day? For the most part, though, they don't sleep all of it at once. So what they'll do is they'll lie down for a few hours and then they kind of wake up a little bit and lie down for a few hours and then wake up a bit. But they can sleep as much as 20 hours a day. That's if they've really full and they've had a big meal, then they can sleep quite a bit. But otherwise, you'll probably find that they mostly spend the daylight hours sleeping and then they're up at night time. But they're still not quite ready just to move just yet. Still kind of going down. Now, Dominique, you're asking how many teeth the male lion's got. Oh, that one's put up his head and the other one. So let's see, are they going to get up? Dominique, I'm going blank at the moment, but I have a feeling that it is, I think, 28. I might be wrong. Brent will know. Brent is in the tent, and he can even maybe show you how many teeth a lion's got in its mouth. But I think it's 28, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong, though. It might be a little bit more than that. But we'll just have to ask Brent. He'll be, like I say, there's a skull of a lion in the tent, and he can maybe show you exactly how many teeth they've got in their mouth. It's quite amazing how many teeth they've got, and maybe you can just see how big their teeth are as well. But I thought maybe they were all going to stand up. There's been lots of yawning, lots of kind of grooming. And the reason that they groom themselves is because while they've been sitting, things like ticks and parasites have crawled onto them. And so they get rid of those. They also get rid of any loose fur and water that's on their coat and make themselves look pretty before they start walking. So basically, when you see them grooming and yawning, it's normally a good sign that they are going to start waking up. And I'm hoping that they're going to head a little bit further out into the open so we can actually see them a bit better than what we see them now. So Riona, there are lions, leopards, cheetahs, caracals, African wildcat, servals, so lots of different types of cats that we get in this area. They're spread around. Actually, this area is very famous for leopard more than anything else. So very few cheetahs, but lots of leopards and quite a few lions as well. So that's most of the cats that we see is leopard and lion. And then every now and then, if we're lucky, we'll see some of the smaller cats like serval, caracal, and African wildcats. But they are impressive. Every single cat is an impressive specimen, but nothing is as big and as imposing as what the lions are, that's for sure. Hopefully, like I say, that they are going to move a little bit because it's coming harder to see them. It's now getting dark, and this is when the lions really like to get moving. They like to get up now and start to think about hunting. It's this time of day where the animals like buffalo, which is their favorite, they start to not be able to see as well, and so these guys can get out and start to look, and their eyes are much better in the dark than the buffaloes, and that's when they start to hunt. So this is why they'll wake up now, and I'm pretty sure before they do anything, they'll have a bit of a drink, and then from drinking, they're going to start moving around and looking for food. They have eaten in the last few days, but hopefully we'll find another meal in the next little bit, and maybe we'll even get to watch them as they stalk something. Now, while we sit with these guys, we're going to kind of hope that they start to move. In the meantime, let's send you back to Taylor, who I believe has got some leaves rustling on a bush. Well, finally, we've gotten them onto a road, and they are walking straight towards us. So you'll see that they're going to kind of look at us as they go. They'll sniff every now and then, and they'll just kind of mark on the bushes. Now, I'm trying to kind of reverse backwards with them, which is a little bit tricky. It's not easy to reverse with lions while it's dark and trying to actually see where we're going. So we'll just give them a bit more space than what I originally gave them. And it's just the one that you can see, but the rest are coming. I saw another one behind him, and so you'll find the other two will be there shortly. But there we go. There's the second one starting to appear now. So we're just going to roll backwards. It's a bit bumpy. I apologize. There we go. So I'll just kind of go there, and our lion should walk straight towards where we are, which is very, very cool. So Alexander, the average weight of an adult male lion like this is probably about 250 kilograms or 500 pounds, somewhere in that general vicinity. Sometimes they can get up to 600 pounds if they are really big individuals, but most of the time it's around 250 kilograms, 500 pounds, around there. So, but they are massive individuals. They're huge, huge, huge animals and are very impressive. So Logan, there's not different kinds of lions. There's just your stock standard lion here in Africa, and then you do get an Asiatic lion, which is a subspecies, and it's just because it occurs in Asia, so that's why it's called Asiatic lion. But slowly these boys are going, and I wonder, they look like they're heading towards where Taylor is. I'm not 100% sure where Taylor is, but they are walking in that general direction. So they're heading westwards, which I think is the same way that Taylor's lioness is walking. She's also walking west, and so I wonder if these boys are trying to maybe follow that lioness. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But here we go. Look at that. Isn't that cool? You can see the eyes of a male lion is very special. Now they're kind of cutting up the road, it looks like, and maybe they're going to keep going more into the bush. And we'll just try and see if we can stay with them, though, and not lose them. I'm just going to turn a little bit so it's easier for Sebastian, and to give Sebastian a bit more light to work with, because it's still very, very dark. Now, I know the female is walking away, but these guys might be trailing that female, and that's why they're walking kind of west at the moment. I believe Taylor's lioness is also walking west, which is quite a long way ahead of us, so we'll just have to see how it goes. Now, that lioness wouldn't want to be caught by these three boys, because it's not going to be very easy for her to kind of get away from them, so hopefully she keeps moving and stays away from them. But look at them. They're like a bunch of gangsters that have come into an area. They mean business. They want to take over, and they just kind of ambling down the road as they do it. It's pretty cool to see, isn't it? I think it's very, very cool. And you can see how they kind of lope along. It's epic. So Daniela, you can see these guys are starting to grow their manes. Their manes are not fully grown yet. They'll get much bigger than this. And these guys are 5 years old. So you'll have a situation where their manes start to grow normally at around about 2.5, 3. You start to see a little bit of a mane growing. And then by the time they reach 7, their mane is normally fully grown. And then they have these beautiful big manes until they get to about 12. And then their mane starts to get a little bit smaller. You start to see hair kind of falling out a little bit as they get older. And their mane doesn't look nearly as impressive as a young male. So we'll see. These guys have got 2 years or so until their manes are fully grown and fully developed. At the moment, they've just got little mohawks, and it'll soon become big puffy manes like you see on other pictures or television of big male lions. So there's a little bit of time to go, and that's because they're still young, these guys. But it's amazing how they just walk into the night, and they are all the time listening and looking and trying to work out if they can find something that will give them an indication of either food or females. And so that's why they kind of walk like this. And the wind is blowing into our faces at the moment. So they're walking with the wind or into the wind. And the reason why lions walk into the wind is because they don't want to give their scent to blow ahead of them. So they would rather walk into the wind, and rather than they can smell things and things can't smell them. So if they're hunting, they don't give themselves away. Good. We're going to keep following these boys, see where they head. While we do that, let's send you back to Brent, who's still playing around with all kinds of different bones in his tent. Well, our 3 young males are still slowly but surely pacing their way westwards and are going closer and closer to where Taylor left that line. So hopefully she keeps going and she gets towards her pride, because the rest of her pride is further to the west, and hopefully these boys lose interest in trying to follow her. I don't think that they know that she's ahead of them just yet, but they're getting to a point now where they're going to start smelling her, because this is very close to where Taylor is. So she's moved a bit and they've got a lot of catching up to do, but I think brisker in the way they walk or move much faster, and then it'll be difficult for